Well, Ulysses, today we'll treat our listeners with a mailbag episode. Normally, we have mailbag episodes on Wednesday, but we're going to do a little double duty and have one today on a Tuesday and also tomorrow on a Wednesday.
Well, we got so many things that people wanted to talk about. We got to hear them all. So it's crunch time, people. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
And we're the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making Locked On Rays your very first listen every day. And remember, Locked On Rays is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube at Locked On Rays. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Rays. And you can email us anytime, lockedonrays@gmail.com. All right, let's get rolling here with this mailbag episode. 3 questions or comments that we'll get to, and then we'll get to 3 more on tomorrow's episode as well. So let's dig deep into the mailbag, and we have Argenis for the first one, I believe.
Yes, we do. And this is a voice memo, and people that have heard us say that you will get into the front of the line if you give us a voice memo. Yes, you will. Argenis is going to go first, and this is our first kind of different spin on voice memos, Kevin. I've actually kept you in the dark here. My boomer self made some editing on a template so that we have a little bit of a high-tech improvement on voice memo. So are you ready?
I am more than ready.
Well, if you're ready to and you're listening to this, we'll hop on YouTube because then you can see my boomer tech skills at work. Here we go.
Hello, Kevin, Ulises, and Locked On Rays audience. As you all know, Astros and Rays played 2 3-game series this month. This is a matchup that I always enjoy watching. I really like both teams. I think they are fun, dynamic, and always competitive. The Rays season's been frustrating due to injuries that took away the best of the team. As for the Astros, their biggest issues been bats waking up late in games and not scoring with runners in scoring position. If the Rays can take advantage on that, things can get very ugly for the Astros. Record? I think each team wins 2 out of 3 at home. I hope the Rays win the division and that they play the Astros on the way to the World Series. Well, that's all. Thank you for the chance to speak up, and know that I'm glad to say that Locked On Rays is my first listen every day, and it's my first choice to get all my Tampa Bay Rays analysis. See you guys, Rays up.
Well, there we go. Great editing work and technological skills there, and great voice memo from Argenis Rashad as well.
Yeah, I mean, 60 seconds, so that's right on point. So he gets 100% on the marks on the length. What do you think about his? First of all, thank you for the recap on what to expect on the Astros. Having some trouble with men in scoring position, huh? And then that's waking up late in games. Well, the Rays do have a great bullpen. So if it's the time against Adam, Brooks Raley, and Pete Fairbanks, seems like the Rays have themselves a good plan of a game, except if they don't Kluber, Patino, Bronx Stadium the situation.
Right, and it may be a case of, so the Rays going to Houston, that is the very last series of the season, of the regular season, I should say, and I would assume that the Astros would have the division locked up by then. I mean, they're already 90-50, and the Mariners are 11 games back as of this recording. And I think, the Astros, they're as historic as they've been over the last several years. Their run to get to 90 wins in 140 games is even historic by their standards as well. But it might be a case of them maybe taking the gas pedal off a little bit and I don't want to say not having anything to play for, but really not really have anything to play for, and just shoring up their team, making sure they're healthy for what they hope is a deep playoff run, respectively. But You also don't want to be a team that just, I mean, you're a pro athlete. You're never going to have the mentality of, oh, we can just, go easy and lollygag. That's when guys get hurt. But that might be a fortuitous situation for the Rays if the Astros already have their division locked up and they're just thinking about the playoffs at that point.
Yeah, no, good point, because that doesn't mean that they're not going 100% trying to win the game, but it could mean, you know what, maybe we do need to give a Jose Altuve a day off. Maybe we do need to get Bregman a day off him, and start some guys. Again, expanded rosters might mean that you can have that readily available rookie that has just been called,
Right.
or the Aledmys Diaz that doesn't get particularly a lot of at bats. Now he can come in and see regular time for that series. That, I think, that would obviously help the Rays if they're not seeing squad A. But like you said, you have to really manage that kind of carefully, because you want guys rested and all that, but you also don't want guys to be, riding pine so much that they lose some timing.
And it's crazy what the Astros are doing right now. Do you know what their team ERA is? Take a guess.
Wow, just because you said it that way, I'm going to go with something ridiculous. 3.20.
Best ERA in all of baseball. As a team, it is 2.96. 2.96 as a team. Thank you, Framber Valdez. Thank you, Justin Verlander. Thank you, Jose Urquidy. Thank you, Luis Garcia. Thank you, Christian Javier. They're a damn good ball club. And again, it gets to the point that late in the season, I would assume, again, Astros might have 100 wins by that point, that it's like, Framber's not, he doesn't have anything left to prove. Verlander doesn't have anything left to prove. So why risk trying to force those guys to throw 6-7 strong, whatever it may be? And it's interesting with the Astros. They lost Michael Brantley to season-ending shoulder surgery, but they also added Trey Mancini and Christian Vasquez at the deadline. So they wouldn't be a bad pick to make it to the World Series. I mean, if you're going chalk, I guess technically it would be Astros versus Dodgers for the World Series if you're doing that at this point. But it'll be interesting to see what happens and what shakes out between them visiting Tropicana Field and the Rays going to Minute Maid Ballpark as well. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your pro and college football betting needs and sports info this season. You can find all the latest football league developments, game matchups, news, and podcasts, including opening week games. BetOnline is also your continued source for all your sport wagering info, including live betting, esports, and scores. So head over to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, it is where the game starts. All right, this next question, I think a first-time emailer, mailbagger, if you will, Samuel Bonici, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He says, "What's up, boys? Longtime listener, first time in the mailbag. Transferred from USF to UNC Charlotte last year. Despite being 600 miles from the Trop, I do get to as many Durham Bulls games as possible. I went to yesterday's game and sat above the tunnel to Durham's locker room. 3 kids wearing Judge, Acuna Jr., and Rizzo jerseys were hovering around trying to get a ball signed. I asked who they were trying to reach out to, and in unison, they all replied, Wander Franco. Thought it was pretty cool that we have that player presence to the next generation of baseball fans and wanted to share it with you all. Side note, I'm finishing up a civil engineering degree here in Charlotte. Once Stu decides to open that checkbook and build a new stadium, I'll be on that design and development team. Mark my words." How about that? That would be nice. Return to Tampa.
Wow, Sam. Well, thank you so much for writing to us, man. It always means a lot to us when we hear the first timer. So thank you for that. That is such a cool experience, right? To see kids wanting autographs and wanting to see a specific player, and then that player is from back home, from Tampa, and you're so far away up there in Durham. That must be pretty cool. And you're right. He is one of those guys. We've waxed poetic about Wander, especially during the offseason and when the call-up was happening, and how he could be in the talks of the Tatises and the Acuñas and the Vladimir Guerreros, and he's right there. I mean, he just has to be healthy, and that's unfortunate for the 2022 season. But the way that he's come out this, this second time during the IL this season, it seems like he is on time with his stance, with his bat control, with his plate discipline again. Yeah, you're going to have days off like he got on Monday. That's just going to happen with broken handmade bone. But hopefully when he's out there and he's producing, that'll get him to the next echelon for sure.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, when I was living in Louisville, that was the home of a AAA ball club. The Louisville Bats, the farm team for the Cincinnati Reds. And we loved the rehab assignments. We loved when the major league stars, don't want to say got hurt, but they had to make their way through town at one point or another. So I'm sure that the Durham Bulls and some other teams within the Rays farm system have gotten their fair share of, watching some stars and some guys that you don't normally get the opportunity to. So it's, I guess, it was a good year, a good time to be a fan or a watcher of the Durham Bulls. And I'll say this, Sam, you got to, I assume, I mean, reading your email, you traveled to quite a few Durham Bulls games, but there's a pretty good ballpark in your backyard, the Charlotte Knights. I mean, that's a pretty amazing AAA stadium as well. There's a lot of really good AAA stadiums, in fact. So really take it all in and enjoy baseball when and where you can.
What about that also got me. Part?
What's that?
The last part, the civil engineering. By the way,
yeah,
the brains on Sam. Very nice. Very nice.
Correct.
Dude, if you come back soon though. Because I mean, we need to start talking about those plans, Kevin, because how long does it take for a whole community to have blueprints, permits, vision boards, and all of that for a stadium? And you're talking 3 years. I mean, and the lease ends in 2027.
Yeah.
My calendar says we're downing on 2022 pretty quickly. I mean, let's go.
Well, they've been talking about a new stadium for 15 years now, and dirt has yet to be unraveled from the ground to build said stadium. So you're sort of on a time bomb right there, or a time clock, I should say. It is interesting what Sam said about the fans flocking to Wander Franco. It got me thinking if Wander will ever have in his career one of the top 10 most purchased jerseys in baseball. Like, I wonder the last time that a Rays player, if ever a Rays player, has been in the top 10 of jersey sales. Maybe Longoria for a season in his heyday. I don't have the rankings in front of me, but
it would have to be only Longoria. Longoria. And I don't think he made it top 10. At his best, he was maybe top 20 at his best. And that was like possibly maybe a year and a half. But no, I don't think he made it top 10. Honestly, it would have been that 2010. I mean, he was on the MLB 2K10 cover. So, and he had those the hat. Somebody stole my hat. That whole shtick of commercials. So he had his limelight, his spotlight. So Wander Franco, could he do that? Yeah, I think so. I think he's gregarious enough. I think he's likable and has a big personality. I think he likes a microphone, like Longo does. They enjoy having the microphone and the lights near them. So
that helps for jersey sales.
Exactly.
Trout's not in the top 10 right now.
Is he not?
As of this ranking that I see, and again, it's probably several months old, but I've got Betts, Tatis Jr., Acuna Jr., Baez, Kershaw, Bellinger, Judge, Seager, Ohtani, Arenado. This could be a year old, but you get the point there. And I think obviously the key for Wander is you have to be on the field long enough for people to watch you and see highlights of you play. Playing 70, 80, 90 games isn't going to cut it. You have to be on the field 140 to 150 a game, games a year, and you have to start making and racking up some all-star appearances. Good news for him, he's only 21 years old, so that certainly helps from that perspective. All right, moving on to this last mailbag question that we'll get to today from Noah Perdomo. He says, hello, I just found your podcast a few weeks ago, and I am loving it. Well, thank you. Here's my mailbag question. Does Ryan Yarbrough fit into the Rays' 2023 plans with starters like Boz, Bradley, and Patino on the horizon? It is looking less and less likely. What are your thoughts? Thank you for the amazing podcast.
Well, Noah, thank you so much for liking the podcast, but first of all, for finding the podcast. We still have people finding the podcast, and that's really, really cool. So if you're one of those people and you have a Rays fan friend, well, guess what? You should tell them, hey, you should listen to Locked On Rays, but actually, instead of listening to it, watch it on YouTube and subscribe and hit that like button because it's for free, and it's really cool because it helps us. So that's nice.
Yeah.
So Noah, Yarbrough. We've had this conversation so many times, and it never is a dull conversation because there are so many intricacies on what is Ryan Yarbrough's future with the team. Number one, the financials. He's going to get a bump in pay to around maybe 5.5. Is that fair enough? From 4? 5.5?
Sure, let's go with that.
Let's go with 5.5. Okay. Not a lot of players in the past have the Rays paid 5.5 without being a mainstay core kind of guy. Like that's substantial money for the Rays. So what are your plans for Ryan Yarbrough if you're paying him $5.5 million? Is it provide us 140 innings? Or is it, hey, can you be our flex guy, bulk guy, give us innings when we need to, 80 innings, something like that? That's rough to pay $5.5 million if you're the Rays, and that's the way that you're going to utilize them. So the financials make me think that the Rays are not going to be interested in Ryan Yarbrough's services. However, when you look at the rotation for next year, okay, so who's staying? Rasmussen, McClanahan, Springs. Okay, that's their top 3. Glass now, 4. And then your 5th, who is it? Patino? Tash Bradley? Shane Boz? Ryan Yarbrough? I think there's a lot of question marks there for number 5.
Yeah.
But your Ryan Yarbrough has never had an issue giving you innings. That is never a question mark. So maybe it is a smart idea to keep a guy who you can, put 100 innings on his name next to him and know that that's going to happen.
At least 100 innings. And that's the thing is Shane Boz, rookie, untested, question mark. Taj Bradley, rookie, untested, big question mark. Patino, untested, rookie, question mark. We don't know if they're going to be I wouldn't even be talking about Taj Bradley as far as opening day 2023. I think they're going to bring Ryan Yarbrough back. Yes, the Rays traditionally, historically, have not been a team that would pay a guy like him, 3rd year of arbitration, $5.5 million. But this is a different Rays ball club that we're talking about. We're talking about a ball club that's given Tyler Glasnow a $25 million deal for 1 year. We're talking about a ball club that extends Manny Margot. We're talking about a ball club that gave Wander Franco at 20 years old, $180+ million. And you're theoretically going to have lots of money coming off the books with Choi theoretically being gone and Kiermaier not returning and Kluber maybe not returning either. I think you almost have to pepper in a spot for Ryan Yarbrough, especially the way he's pitched the last couple months here and there. I mean, the second half of the season, you couldn't ask for anything more from what he's been able to do. And he's got options left. He's a veteran. He rarely ever, if at all, gets injured. And maybe it's a case of, okay, you bring him back. Yeah, it sucks to bite the $5.5 million bullet, but maybe he weathers the storm. He holds the fort through April, May, June, maybe through July. See how the young guys are situating themselves. See if they can stay healthy. See if they can handle the more fascinating competition compared to AAA or whatever level they're at, that they have staying power. And then you maybe trade them to a team that needs an innings eater. I think as of today, I would bring Ryan Yarbrough back. I see it. And we're not even talking about the number of injuries that are going to happen, not just with these guys, but with the entire pitching staff as a whole.
Well, and that's I'm very happy you landed here, because it's so funny to me. It's when people are like, "Oh man, my dream rotation: Glasnow, McClanahan, Rasmussen, Springs," and it's like, okay, cute tweet. That's so like no team in the history of teams of any league has ever had a plan and then actually stuck with that plan, because injuries happen. Like, I think that the mini rant here. I hate those tweets. I hate those like, it's so filled with banality, because how are you a Rays fan in 2022 and not know that injuries are just going to derail plans? Not even like off it, like, into a ditch. Okay. People are not going to get found kind of ditch. Okay. These are the kind of injuries that happen year in and year out. So no, I mean, it's very nice to say, the 5 names, but you need 12. You need, what's his name? Criswell that pitched on Monday evening. You need guys that. You need guys like that are going to put up those performances, and maybe on one day. But you also need the Ryan Yarbroughs, because Ryan Yarbrough, he is durable. We talked about Kluber right before the season started. I think we were still in the lockout, and we were talking like, how many innings could he get? How many innings? I don't remember if we were with somebody on the show. I don't believe it was just us two. But we were thinking like, what would happen in a room in the front office if we were talking about Kluber? And like, I think 100, 110, 190. And if we put that scenario in the front office and they're talking about Ryan Yarbrough and how many innings he's going to provide, why would anybody say less than 110?
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Well,
I would put money on 110 over.
That's the thing. And you made a really good point about, a dream if we get these 5 guys to get all on the same page. I mean, if you're entering a season just talking about 5 guys, 5 starters, you'll heap of trouble. You better be entries and talking about, hey, we can trust these 10 names to give us a spot or a spot start or multiple starts. And a little bit of an analogy here, football analogy. I know that's right up your wheelhouse, Ulises. Every NFL team or many NFL teams, they need that backup quarterback. They need that Josh McCown. They need that Ryan Fitzpatrick. They need that Jacoby Brissett. Yeah, it's not the flashiest thing in the world, but when crap hits the fan, when your plan goes awry, you need somebody who can at least hold fort and hold the ship and get you through a rough patch. And I feel like Ryan Yarbrough is that guy. Not to mention, it's fun and dazzling to talk about the young guys who throw so hard and they got crazy breaking stuff. But there's also something to be said for a different type of arm from the left side. You throw Ryan Yarbrough one day, the next day you throw that power righty or that power lefty and Shane McClanahan. Sometimes teams don't know how to adjust or what to do with themselves when they go from a Yarbrough to a McClanahan.
And the flexibility too, like we talk about, like, oh, isn't it awesome that Taylor Walsh has such a great glove at shortstop, but now we can possibly move him to third and he can flash some glove there, or second base. Like, wouldn't that be great? Zobrist, oh man, what a great guy to move around. Well, you know what? Also, you could move around a pitcher. This guy could give you 3 innings out of the bullpen and shut down the Yankees lineup, or provide you 5 and shut them down. Or he could be a 2-inning guy if you need him, or behind an opener, or just an actual starter if it's the right opposing team. I mean, the flexibility that Ryan Yarbrough gives you is huge. There are not a lot of, I don't think you can ask that to other guys just willy-nilly, like, hey, can you give me 5 innings out of the bullpen?
Yeah.
We saw Shane McClanahan did not do well out of the bullpen. He didn't in the playoffs. Yeah. So, and I'm not comparing, that doesn't mean Ryan Yarbrough is better than Shane McClanahan, people. Like, let's slow the roll. But like, there is something some guys can do and some others can't. And Ryan Yarbrough most definitely can be asked, hey, I need you from the bullpen. Hey, I need you to start. And he'll do those things and give you a valiant effort. I think I don't see how they do not bring him back unless they have ulterior motives with moving other pieces and then getting back some arms. But right now, I don't see how he does not become how Rich Hill was the transition into Drew Rasmussen last year, just holding the spot like you're saying. I don't see how Ryan Yarbrough can hold that spot for a Tash Bradley in August of 2023, for example.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So, again, if he continues to pitch like he has over these last several outings, really since July, and he finds himself onto a playoff roster and he does well there, maybe he might have shown enough to handle things there. So it's always a fun question to see how that goes. Thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your first listen every day. Now make your second listen the Locked On MLB podcast. That is also free and available on all platforms. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you on Wednesday with another mailbag.